In this clip, we're going to talk about reliability. Reliability is a psychometric property of measures that deals with the consistency or the repeatability of a measurement. So if a measure of, say, job satisfaction or productivity or intelligence, if it returns the same values over time, then we would conclude that that measure is reliable. In other words, the measurement is consistent over time. So, for example, think about grade inflation. So they say that the average grade in college courses have been going up over time, going back to like the 1960s till today. Now, if this increase in grades is not due to better performance on exams by the students, but if it's the fact that students are getting better grades for lower quality work, then grades would not be reliable as a measure of academic performance over time because it's not consistent over time. Now, there are a number of ways to examine the reliability of a measure. One of those is called test retest. So for test retest, what we would do, let's say we have a measure of job satisfaction among employees in a firm. So we would get this measure at one time, and then again some period of time later. So if a person scored low at time one and then low at time two, and then so like down here, low at time one and low in time two. Another person scored up here, high in time one and high in time two, then we would say that this is reliable because you're capturing the same result from each person in the first period and the second period. Now, you don't want to wait or do it too quickly. If you do the test retest too quickly, then it may just be a test of, how well the person remembers their answer from the first time. So rather than thinking of it freshly, they just go and report what they said, if you ask them like 2 days in a row or like 2 weeks in a row. But then again, if we wait too long to do test retest, it might be all over the place. So if we wait too long, it could be that whatever we're measuring has actually changed. So think of another extreme of like 10 years. You take a, in 2015, you ask employees something, then you ask those same employees something in 2025. Odds are things have changed in the meantime. So you could be capturing a change, not capturing the reliability of your measurement. So an improvement on the test retest is called parallel forms. So in parallel forms, we would have time one and time two, again, like we did for test retest. But at time one, we would select half of the items. Maybe we have 10 items or 10 questions, 10 different ways to measure job satisfaction. So we pull half of them. So let's say we pull 10 of them and ask those at time one. Then at time two, we ask the other half. Now, these questions are something to get at the underlying thing that we're trying to measure, but they're asking these questions in a slightly different way. So the person isn't just remembering what they said before and repeating it, they're answering something just slightly different. So if we had, again, something like this, where people early on, or yeah, in time one report something low, in time two report something low, and then people up here that report high satisfaction, whatever we're trying to measure in time one and time two, or yeah, even though these are slightly different questions, in time one and time two, then what we're getting is something that's reliable. And these parallel forms are a good way to establish the reliability of a particular measure. So a third form is internal consistency, or a third method is internal consistency. So with internal consistency, it's about trying to establish that the items within the measure that they hang together, that they go together. So let's say we have items one and two here. We would call these internally consistent. When people score low on item one, they're low on item two, and high on item one, they're high on item two. Because they move together, because they're consistent, we would say that they have internal consistency. On the other hand, we have an example like this, item one and item three. This third item that we're adding in is not internally consistent. We see people all over the place. Or this person right here is, rates item one and item three low, but this one person right here rates item one very high and item three very low. So it's not internally consistent. We wouldn't say that item one and item three are. So the final way to examine reliability is to look at consistency among the different runs. We call this interreliability. There we go. Um, So interreliability is basically looking at how much of a consensus there is among evaluators. So rather than doing this at different times, we have different people all at the same time. So think of the consensus among evaluators like judges for Olympic ice skaters. Interreliability would be like all the judges giving the same or very similar ratings to performances. So failing the interreliability would be if there was one lone judge giving a very low score. Everyone else was giving, like the example here, like 8.59, and then one really doesn't like it and they give like a 1.5. They give it to something very, very low. So another example would be like judging boxing matches or having a panel interview job applicants for a job where you have not just one person interviewing, you have several people. So if there's a lot of consensus among the hiring panel, the different people on it, that would be an indication of interreliability.